I hear you.
Oh, well, it's okay.
And multitasking doesn't get any easier the older we get either. I find it.
One time I was at a conference and multitasking just means you just
That's exactly.
I think there's some truth to that.
Call to a meeting the Monday, March 12th, 2018, Planning and Zoning meeting. Roll call, please.
Tony Gilkenbach.
Here.
Ellen Witt.
Here.
Greg Scornia.
Here.
Mark Fleesner. Mark Piontek.
Here.
Tom Hopar.
Here.
Sandy Lucy.
Here.
John Boardman.
Here?
Chuck Watson.
Here.
Samantha Stewart Wacker.
Please rise for a pledge of allegiance. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the February 12th, 2018 meeting. If you've had a chance to review those, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Moving on to item number 3, case number 180301, Roger and Rhonda Langendorfer. Applicant is requesting to rezone 138 Bush Avenue from M2 Heavy Industrial to C2 General Commercial. Sal?
Yeah, so this property is the historic Bush Brewery from Bush Avenue off Jefferson Street. The address is 108 to 138 Bush Avenue with all the, there's different, businesses in there. It is currently zoned M2 Heavy Industrial, which is the same zoning that it was when zoning first came into effect. It had some uses in there that were, when it was actually, I guess, used as a brewery, is possible whenever that was put under that zoning. I'm not sure exactly why it was designated that when we adopted a zoning code. But today, every use that is in there is permitted and actually required in this to go into a C2 general commercial zone district. So the wedding venue or just in any type of venue like gathering space, a restaurant, bar, the office space that's there, the printing press that's in there, all of those uses that are permitted in C2 general commercial. So them requesting to rezone to C2 tonight actually allows brings them into conformance with the existing code. So, and you can see the existing zoning here is M2 is the gray. There is M2 across the street with Sporland, but everything else on Jefferson is that red is C2. So, yeah, they would just be coming to conformance with the surrounding area and also with city code. So we do recommend approval of the request. So,
Any questions or comments of Sal? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
Good evening. I'm Roger Langendorfer. I think most of you probably know who I am. This is a tough job, planning and zoning, and I kind of thought about it today coming over here. This is going to be one of these situations where many, many times when someone comes here to talk to you, either in favor of or opposed to, someone walks away unhappy. And I feel like with bringing the property or zoning it to commercial, everyone is going to be happy. There was a time that you could do anything in C1, C2, or you could do anything in M2, M1 that was allowed in the lower zoning classifications. And when we originally had started with the property, that's the way the zoning was, and then we revamped it, and or the city did. So I think your comprehensive plan, I think that we're changing the zoning, and it will comply with what your comprehensive plan says, and I would like to think that everyone this evening will be happy. Is there any questions that anyone has of me?
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? If not, Entertain further discussion or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to
Thank you
item.
for coming, because
What?
we don't always see, thank you for coming, because we don't always.
Right. Some people just assume it'll go through. And most of the time it does.
Yeah,
And we're the yes board.
Moving on to item number 4, case number 180302. Applicant is requesting approval of a preliminary plat for the Overschmidt Properties Plat 1. Sal?
Yes, this is the property located at the corner of MacArthur and East Fifth Street. It's actually has 2 addresses, one at 601 East Fifth, and then there's the structure in the back, as you can see on the aerial, that's located at 430 MacArthur Street. It's currently on one parcel, and you can see on the zoning map it's zone C2 overlay, which the overlay just allows for the mix of residential if requested. In this case, they're both commercial uses, general commercial uses, and the applicant is requesting to subdivide the property into 2 lots so they could, sell one off without the other. You can see it's shown here as 7A. So 7A would be the 430 MacArthur, and 7B is the 601 East Fifth. In C2 overlay, there is no minimum lot size. They each have adequate street frontage, so there's no issue with the proposal of the layout of the plat. There is a side lot line on a single-story building they can have a 0 lot line on a single-story building, so there's no issue with them putting the property line in between the buildings that close. To the rear here, this building wouldn't, if it was built today, wouldn't meet they'd have to get a variance for that rear yard setback, but it's an existing building, grandfathered setback. So if they were to try and expand, they would have to do some type of boundary adjustment or a variance to fill in that 4 feet there. But as of right now, they're just looking to subdivide to sell off. So the utilities are run down MacArthur, so there's no need for utility easements between the property lines. They both have access to public utilities through MacArthur Street and 5th Street. So we actually recommend approval of the preliminary plat, and since there's no improvements that are needed to the subdivision, there's no need for a guarantee agreement or a letter of credit. So we are actually going to put the final plat on, if it's approved here, on City Council next Monday. So,
Any questions or comments? None? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this? If not, entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Other business, Sal has some special videos for us.
video, no, I just got a PowerPoint presentation. Our Capital Improvement Sales Tax Committee has been going around and giving presentations to a number of civic organizations and community groups, just to update them on what the committee, the projects that the committee has picked for the next go-around, and kind of given a history of our capital improvement sales tax. And we thought, I think 8 years ago, someone gave a presentation to this commission, so we thought we'd do it again this go-around. And if you have any questions, I can try and answer best I can for the proposed projects. And I think it's important, I already have it up. I think it's important for this group to hear as well, because we did take the comprehensive plan into effect when we were deciding these projects. We printed out all of the goals and objectives in the comprehensive plan, highlighted them, and we picked out the ones that there were projects, proposed projects that we thought went along with some of the goals and objectives, and then prioritize them. So if they were listed in the comprehensive plan, they got a higher rating, and they actually moved up because there was $26 million in projects, and we had to get it down to about 16. So we tried to get the ones in the comp plan higher up before we started cutting projects. So just so everyone's aware, just a reminder, it is a half-cent sales tax, and it is a renewal. It will have an 8-year sunset, so that means if passed on April 3rd, it'll go into effect June of this year, and will last until June 30th, 2026, and it is for capital projects only. So again, no new taxes. This is a renewal. It's one we've had for 29 years. So the history of it, it was originally passed in 1989, and it was for 5 years. And you can see here how it's progressed over the years, how much sales tax it's brought in. You can see just the second go-around in 95 is when we first upped it to an 8-year increment. And you can just see in 95, it brought in $8 million, and we've doubled our sales tax since 1995. One thing we do point out every time someone gives this presentation is that between 2010 and 2018, you can see our sales tax is actually, the growth has slowed. It's still growing, but not as fast as it used to be. Just with the online orders, Amazon, and everything, our sales tax has slowed. And so to be safe, whenever we were estimating these funds, what projects we could fund with them, we froze the sales tax at a 2017 rate, and that way that's how we project it out. So if we do get additional growth, anticipated growth, it would just help out with some funding later on, but we wanted to be conservative with that and to be safe, set it at $16.3 million. So the historic use of the sales tax, we've used it to build fire stations, the public safety building right here behind us, the library expansion this last go around, a number of parks, not only additions to the fairground, but also the All Abilities Park, the park out at Phoenix Center, and the tennis courts. That was all part of a capital improvement project. And then obviously downtown improvements, that's gone to some pavers. I believe it paid for a lot of the lighting and the banners, and also the hanging baskets, that sort of thing. So our 2010 to 2018 report card, a big thing of this is when we go to the community, we want to show that the projects we put on, we said we were going to complete, the last time I went to the ballot, that they actually were completed. And that's why we want the citizens to hold the city accountable, that we complete these projects every 8 years. And so we give a report card of what was completed. Like I said, the library renovation expansion, that was a big ticket item. Typically there is one big item that goes with this sales tax renewal every 8 years. We call it the sexy project to kind of get people to the polls. But then also we have all the side projects as well. But it continued economic development and job creation. We used in the last go around, we used those funds for matching funds for like the team track to complete the expansion of Offspring Drive and put some improvements into the industrial parks, public improvements. We continued protection for our emergency service personnel, that's police and fire. It would pay for additional equipment that the fire department needs and or communications equipment for the police department. Obviously, a lot of continued park improvements and enhancements. The Parks Board does not have a good funding source, so this is their main source of revenue, and so it goes to maintenance and new parks, like I said, with the All Abilities Park and Phoenix Park. And then there's continued sewage system improvements, a lot of slip lining to old clay pipes that need to be replaced, continued improvements to downtown, like I said, and then improved finance, technology, and facilities. So pretty much every eight years, technology advances enough where we need to get new servers, a new network, and that kind of upgrade, so this will pay for that. Just like we upgraded this past year after we had that issue, we upgraded our servers for security and everything. We're anticipating in about 8 years that'll probably be old technology. So I don't really have to tell you all this, but this is something we give to the general community. Even though we have an estimated population of 15,000, the trade area is anywhere from 60 to 80,000 residents. And obviously, since this is a sales tax, it is paid for by anyone who shops in Washington. And so it's really something that's funded by Franklin County and Warren County area as a whole, and then any of those citizens can come into town and use our amenities. Comparing local taxes, I think this is important to point out because we still have a very competitive tax rate, even with the renewal of this tax. You can see Washington sales tax is 8.35%, and we actually have the second lowest on this graph in the area. So Pacific is the only one that's lower than us at 7.9. See Union's got 8.9, or St. Clair's got 8.9, and you can see Sullivan. This lighter gray is the regular sales tax, and the darker is if they have a CID. And we do have a CID, it's Phoenix Center 2, where Target and Kohl's are at, and that is 9.1 with the increase. But you can see even still, we're lower than a lot of these. You see when you get into St. Louis County, 10%, 9.8. So we still have a competitive tax rate even with this renewal. So since 1988, the capital improvement sales tax enabled an additional $6.7 million in grant funds, state and federal programs, and then matching gifts from Rotary, Lions, Optimist, all the civic organizations for us to be able to complete these projects. So it's it's a good revenue source for us to leverage those funds and then for groups to come in or the state and federal grants to come in and kind of complete those projects. A lot of times we can't even pitch an idea to the civic organization or apply for a grant if we don't have on the dotted line that we have the funds to match once it's awarded. So we have to make sure that these funds are available. It's estimated, again, that over $16.3 million will be generated over the lifetime of this tax, the next 8 years. And like I said, this wasn't just the committee picking projects. It was the Citizens Committee, but then we also had Facebook commentary. We had an online survey with well over 200 requests. We sent it out in the water bills and got a lot of requests, a lot of comments back that way. We did have a public community forum here in this room. And like I said, we went through the comprehensive plan and the Parks Master Plan and prioritized projects based on what was listed in there. So what's going to be spent this time around? The fire department is going to be allocated additional, approximate $3 million. This will be a new fire station on the southeast side of the city. That's where we're seeing all the growth with this new residential single-family homes we've been seeing going up. An additional truck to put in the new station, replacement of self-contained breathing apparatus, and then vehicle application. I believe that's communication stuff, right? ITI, right. Downtown Washington, just shy of $1 million, $930,000. This will be continuing the utility burial further west on Front Street. Paver replacements for the downtown intersections. A lot of those are getting to be tripping hazards. Upgrades to the Passenger Depot, the Freight Depot, and the Waterworks building. They need to be tuck pointed. Both of the depots need a new roof. So just continued maintenance on those historic buildings. Replacing the new light fixtures. And then the Riverfront Park improvements. We're actually going to pave the gravel lot, and then that'll be the first phase of a new park and amphitheater in that where the paved lot is, where the sand plant used to be. Police communications and IT, $1.6 million, a new Mostwind communications for the police to connect with the state. Siren replacements, so we can get better coverage for weather sirens throughout town, and then server network upgrades, like I mentioned, over the next 8 years. For economic development, the biggest thing is develop infrastructure for a new park. I'm sure a lot of you are aware that since we've passed those resolutions amending the development plan, we're about running short on property that's available in the industrial park. We have a lot of property under contract right now, and so we're looking at area to develop a new industrial park, and that's going to require public infrastructure. So you almost need a little bit of seed money that wouldn't be shared with a grant. It would actually be funded by this tax to get the park off the ground. And then we'd also have matching funds as companies come in and they sign on their dotted line. We can say we have these funds available to apply for a block grant and then expand that infrastructure further to kind of, we tie it to a number of jobs that they create, but it gets us that infrastructure even further. And additional improvements to the airport layout plan. There's $150,000 leveraged in there for the airport, and the state does a 90-10 grant. So every $10,000 we spend, we're eligible for $90,000 through MoDOT on airport improvements. Public Works, a new water tower on the southeast side of town, like I mentioned, with all that growth over there. We've noticed there's been a study done that we need additional water pressure there. Equipment storage to get a lot of the expensive and new equipment that Public Works buys out of the elements and get it into a new building. And then, like I said, sewer slipper lining on a lot of the older clay pipes. Continue that project. Municipal buildings, about $700,000 in energy efficiency improvements. That won't be all of it, but that'll be a good start. And then we can kind of work our way. We're actually having an audit done currently of what type of improvements we can do to improve our energy efficiency in city buildings. Parks and Recreation, the big one, is $6 million price tag. The biggest project here would be for a new city pool. If it passes, we would then we'd hire a consultant to do a study and figure out exactly what we need. We know at a minimum it'll be a new outdoor pool in the same location. We'll probably tear that one up and completely redo it. But if we get back to study and we see the funds are available, we'll look at the possibility of an indoor pool as well. It kind of depends on what the study comes back as. But part of that is replacing pavilions around Lions Lake, a complete rehab of the city auditorium. That's a really underutilized historic building that we have, and so kind of get that back up to standards. New Hillerman Park restrooms, those are in the fairgrounds next to the old tennis courts, and then storage and office remodel for the Parks Department so they can put additional equipment where they're at now and get new city offices in the pool complex. And then additional Parks and Recreation, this is an improve our complete projects. Ronzik Field, we would be doing updates to get that turf AstroTurf on the field to be able to be eligible for more tournaments and get more people into town. New park at Phoenix Playground, because with Stonecrest connecting to that park, there's going to be a lot of traffic there, and we think that it'd be a good idea to have a playground there for the kids in that neighborhood. Main stage roof structure, put a cover over the stage at the fairgrounds in order to better utilize that outside of the fair, and then actually put fencing around that area so it's easier for people to host or have concerts and not have to worry about paying for fencing or scaffolding for a temporary stage. The second phase of the skate park, and then also a replacement of the playground at Krog Park. So this is just how it's allocated. You can see Parks gets the lion's share of it, but we've tried to separate it as we got information in from the public how we should allocate funds. This is the language on the ballot. It's not any type of proposition. It's just proposition. There's no letter associated with it. And that's it. If you have any questions of me.
Thank you.
Questions? Good job, Sal.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else tonight? If not, I'll entertain one last motion.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sal.
I know.
After last month's meeting,
Yeah.
I watched
Yeah.
the city
Yeah.
council meeting after that. The next week is like, oh,
I know, score.
Yeah, no, that's actually why we wanted to do it here, because we wanted people to then share the info. Absolutely.